professor at Maastricht University. I'm very excited about the FAR project that I'm conducting with my three very experienced co-authors. So I have Jasmijn Bol as a co-author, who is full professor at Tulane University. She's also the initiator of this project. Mark Peecher is a professor at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, and Isabella Grabner is at Vienna University, a professor. I study behavioral management accounting. So with accounting, people usually think about bookkeeping and about number crunching, but behavioral management accounting actually tries to go beyond the numbers and also includes the human factor in there. So we study how to facilitate and how to influence decision making in organizations, and an example is how can you motivate your employees to behave in line with the organization's goals. So I got in touch with FAR via colleagues who got a grant from FAR, and they were of course very happy to get some monetary support to do their research, but the one thing they were very enthusiastic about, and that also sparked my interest, is the data access they got from FAR, because the audit sector is a really interesting sector to look at, but auditors work hard, they're very busy people, so it's not always easy to get in touch with them or to convince them to participate in yet another survey or an experiment. So the fact that FAR can facilitate this process and also make sure that everything happens in a safe environment, for example, where anonymity is ensured and that sort of thing, is really priceless support, I would say. So the type of research that I do is really to try to figure out how you can make sure your employees behave in line with the goals of the organization, and goals can be anything. So I looked in the past at how can you facilitate knowledge sharing in organization, because that is something that usually helps the organization. And then for this particular project, the goal of the organization, we assume, is to increase audit quality. So that should be definitely one of the goals of an audit firm. So what we want to do in this project is to study how an auditor can now be motivated to work hard to achieve high audit quality. So that's in a broad sense. More specifically, we are focusing on the culture in audit firms. So there was this report in 2014 of the NBA, so the professional body for accountants in the Netherlands. They indicated that audit quality did not really live up to the public's expectations, and one of the corrective measures they suggested was to improve audit quality. If you look at that from academia, from an academic perspective, then we noticed that there is actually not much out there yet. So there are studies on what is audit quality, how should we define it, and so on, but how the culture in an audit firm can affect audit quality, there are not much studies on this. So we figured that both from an academic and also from a practitioner's perspective, this would be a really interesting thing to look into. For the literature, we really try to first get a better view on what is out there in general on how you can motivate employees. So in any other organization, usually that is like to increase profitability. In an audit firm, of course, they also need to be profitable, but to secure high audit quality for the public is also one, or should be one of the main goals, right? Yeah. So we actually looked at how can you motivate people in general. That's things like the incentive system, chances of promotion, training also matters. So do people have the right capabilities? Are they motivated? Can you motivate them to achieve the goal? So we try to take a look at what is out there in general, but what we will do in our study now is to apply that to this audit sector, and of course results might be a bit different, because trying to increase profitability is not necessarily the same as trying to ensure high audit quality, of course. I think they can definitely benefit because first, this NBA report was there in 2014. I think a lot has changed. So I think it's a very good idea to look at the sector now and did it improve, how did it improve, and what's the current status. So I think this is something valuable to know. But then additionally, I also think it would be really nice if we can discover some best practices across firms and then also share them with the rest of the sector, so that in general people can learn about culture and how that can influence then audit quality, so the do's and don'ts, let's say. So the interviews, they were meant to get an initial idea about the sector, about things people struggle with, the language they use, and then based on the interviews we made a survey and an experiment that is being conducted now. Personally, for me, like going into these interviews, I expected that there would be differences across firms, but I was a bit surprised to see that that's not necessarily the case. So things an auditor in a smaller firm struggles with or notices or experiences were also very often mentioned in the big four firms. So that was the first thing that stood out for me. Second, everyone seemed to agree that a lot has changed the last years, mostly for the better. So people are really convinced that audit quality improved. One thing that came back several times also is that there are a lot of checklists these days. So that's something some people have a bit of issues with, this box checking mentality, let's say. Another thing I noticed is that in general auditors seem to be motivated to work hard. There are always these measures still that they need to focus on, like staying within budget, that are not necessarily in line with ensuring high audit quality, but people seem to be aware that that is something that is really important. It's also stressed from the company leadership. And then maybe a final thing that I also noticed is that an important part of culture is also the people you hire, right? Because it are the people who hire who make up the company workforce and who interact on a day-to-day basis and so on. So we noticed that there is a lot of attention in the hiring process on is there a fit between the auditor and the organization, but something that they do not seem to pay attention to is does the person, the auditor, also, is he intrinsically motivated to ensure high audit quality? Does he care about ensuring this for the public, for example? Yeah. So that's something where I think there might still be some improvements possible. Although, with 30 interviews, you cannot really claim you have a representative view of the whole sector. So that's why we're also doing the survey and the experiment, to really get this representative view and to share our results afterwards. So I'm curious to see whether what we feel like is coming out in the interviews also then it's that we find the same results in the survey and the experiment.